Hello, thanks for joining me, astrologer Patrick Arundell, for your August monthly horoscope for the Sun or the Ascendant. If you've yet to subscribe to my channel, I'd be honoured if you did so now. Please click or tap on the bell notification symbol. Every time I share some content, you will get an alert. Also, if you'd like to get your free daily horoscope to your device every morning, please see the link below this video and you can sign up. Also, if you'd like to take advantage of my fabulous offer of a 12-month forecast, a character analysis based on your time, date and place of birth, totally unique to you, to give you searing insights of your future prospects and potentials, please also see the link below. That is 30% off. Hello Aquarius, and welcome to your monthly horoscope for August. The Sun is the primary energy that drives our whole existence, and that's combining with Mercury, the planet of communication, right at the start of this month. In fact, they're so close together, they are absolutely exactly connected, and that's known in astrology as cazimi. It's quite unusual. I wouldn't say it was rare, but it's not very often that this happens. Now, when this does happen, the power and the magnificence of the sun's rays boosts the energy of the other entity or planet. So because Mercury is about communication, can be about technology, can be about travel and distribution, but for you, this combination occurs in the 7th house of relating. It's your relationships which really come under the astral microscope. But of course, the two co-rulers of Aquarius have been up to mischief most of this year, since the second week of January, peaked on the 17th of Feb, then on the 14th of June. They started to unwind because of Saturn's inverted retrograde on the 22nd of July, but Saturn is opposite the Sun and Mercury as this month begins. So there could be a tense conversation that's going to take place. Now, us Aquarians are pretty good at letting other people have a point of view. Doesn't mean to say that we agree, but we will give the illusion that we're very democratic, only playing. But Mercury in the 7th house is great, because Mercury is a planet that governs the second 10 degrees of Aquarius, the second decan, but also Mercury is exalted in the sign of Aquarius as well. So that ability to discuss things in a detached, fair and logical way is boosted by that immense power of the Sun. So if the co-ruler of Aquarius wasn't opposite the Sun and Mercury, some really delightful things could unfold in terms of relationships. And they still can. It's just that Saturn is a much more modifying influence. And of course, it's in retrograde as well. So it depends where it is on your natal horoscope. But if Saturn is right on a key planet or position, obviously mainly the Sun, then that is going to create a degree of inhibition. So there may be something that does need to be discussed at the start of this month, but it might not flow quite as freely as we would hope when the Sun is in cazimi with Mercury. Now, when they are close like this, you can get real moments of ingenuity, and people who were born with this particular influence can be geniuses, quite honestly. Now, when we get combust, when they're quite close, some astrologers in traditional astrology would say that the power of the smaller player, in this case Mercury, is diminished. But I think that this does offer opportunity still. It's just Saturn saying, think before we speak. Don't rush into something. So it's all very well being democratic, but it is important to protect your interests as well. Now, that influence is in play for the first 4 days. But for the first 9 days, that other rather free radical ruler of Aquarius, Uranus, is in a dust-up with the Sun too. So this is more complex because Uranus is in the sector of the home and family and emotions. The Sun in the 7th house is where we're setting our boundaries. It's not just where we want to relate, it's also where we're saying, no, I'm not accepting that. So there may be someone who's trying to come into our space, trying to demand something, and that more rebellious side of your nature and mine may decide to say, non, monsieur. And why not? Because the new moon, which occurs on the 8th, would ordinarily be a fantastic time to have some real action around relationships in a positive way. If you meet someone new, for example, then that can still be cooking on, I don't want to say gas because that's using up unrenewables, but you can still have some positivity around your relationships. But I just think Uranus is saying that it can create some kind of tension at home. For example, you might be really drawn to someone that family members don't like, or perhaps it's someone that you really like, but they live further away, and therefore, you're getting plenty of space, Uranus, but you're not getting the contact that you want. So some kind of catch might be ongoing. But there is actually a glorious link between Venus and Mars that is in place at the start of this month, which is super, super sultry. Venus in the 8th house can be fantastic for money as well. Mars here is very, very desirous of intimacy. Now, depending on the type of Aquarius you are, whether you're someone who does like to keep a bit of distance, even from the person you really fancy, or even from your partner, it just depends. But if you're someone who's a bit more at ease by being up close and personal, I think you could be feeling a lot more amorous than normal during this month, and that's going to be something to really enjoy. But seriously, financial issues can also work in your favour this month. The negotiation that may have gone on in July when Venus and Mars were aligned in the 7th house may now give you the reward in terms of the money coming into your bank account. So that would be fabulous for you. The 11th sees Mercury move into that deep dive 8th house. The 8th house is about transformation. The sun's going to be moving there on the 22nd after the blue moon in your sign. So the latter part of this month could see you making some big transformations and changes in your life. But the 15th sees a quarter moon in the sign of Scorpio, which means the moon's very close to the surface. If you're feeling unsettled about an existing relationship, it will be harder to disguise it. But on the 16th, Venus moves into one of its two home zones of Libra, which for you is fabulous because this shares your air triplicity. For you, this is about truth. You want to know the truth in your relationships. And even if someone's drop down gorgeous in terms of their magnetism and sexual allure, you need to find out whether you can do business with them. So Venus will help you to ask the questions, but in a tactful way. One thing can also be true of Venus in the 9th house. You may find yourself attracted to someone who comes from a completely different background to you. And that can be really exciting. And I think Aquarius people, although rooted in tradition, can be much less judgmental very often. So maybe a new possibility is going to develop for you. So do stay open-minded, but it could be a business opportunity as much as a personal relationship. Now the 20th sees Uranus, co-ruler, go into retrograde. That goes on through to the 20th of January. What does this mean? I think if there has been any kind of unsettled conditions at home, where you live, how you live there and whom with, or you're physically moved, or you've upgraded your residency, or you're in a situation where you either have too much space or too little space, all of these things can come under the astral microscope through to the 3rd week of January, to be honest, because of course Saturn and Uranus are going to start their arguments again towards the end of November, and it comes to a close on the 21st of January. So there's going to be some kind of synergy. I think a worry you have, or some kind of change around all those parts or strands of your situation, will be more resolved by the end of January this coming year. But on the 22nd, the blue moon in Aquarius, wow, this is a real opportunity, because the other full moon in Aquarius at the very start of the time that the sun was in Leo, well, that was in a semi-sextile with Jupiter. But this one, because Jupiter's wound back from the sign of Pisces, is conjoining with this blue moon. I think this can be very lucky. And if you are feeling very unhappy in a relationship, you may decide to bail out, because all the 8th house energy points towards endings as well as beginnings. There's a polarity there. It just depends on our unique circumstances. So the 8th house energy evolving when the sun moves later on the 22nd into Virgo, joining up initially with Mars and Mercury. Mercury moves on the 30th into Libra, suggests that there could be something that makes way in your life, but no one's going to leave your world who's truly right for you. But I feel there can also be an opportunity to connect, which is much greater than the threat to lose something. But the connection, is really down to you. So it could be a new friend, it could be new associates, it could be a new business partner. It doesn't always have to be through the prism of romantic love. Now, on the 23rd, Mercury does go face to face with Neptune. If you're buying or selling anything across those group of days, go super careful, because someone may misdescribe a product. I've brought a few things online recently which were described as being in mint condition, and they aren't. And even though I'm pretty careful, we can still get caught up. I mean, these are all bargains, but just be careful if you're buying or selling during those group of days, those 4 days. But then on the 30th, Mercury moves into Libra, and you could find yourself with a travel opportunity that you'll really relish, because breaking out and doing something completely different can really give you such a lot of uplift as this month draws to a close. So it's an exciting month. It's a little bit complex. Your 2 rulers are at the heart of the action, but there are some fantastic opportunities there for you too. But remember, whatever the planets are influencing us around, it's us that has the final decision.